Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Speaking on renegotiation and getting more value from his country's resources, Trinidadian Prime Minister Dr. Kaieteur Radio is quoted as saying, "There is a willingness not to treat contract as cast in stone, that while contracts bind us to terms and conditions, if the conditions have changed so dramatically and so detrimentally, then the reopening and renegotiation of contracts is a reasonable demand of the people of Trinidad and Tobago." Here in Guyana, the leaders have taken the position that the 2016 PSA the country has with ExxonMobil and its partners will not be changed to maintain sanctity of contract. But various experts have clarified that the lopsided contract can be changed. More recently, international lawyer Melinda Janke weighed in on the government's position on the deal, explaining that the sanctity of contract term does not mean that a renegotiation is impossible. Only yesterday, we reported that both the former and the present governments have been misusing the sanctity of contract doctrine to avoid renegotiating the lopsided deal. And based on interactions with international watchdog agencies, local transparency group Article 13 says it is becoming increasingly obvious to anti-corruption advocates and other stakeholders that ExxonMobil is calling the shots when it comes to Guyana's lucrative oil find in the offshore Stabroek Block. Given the government's continued resistance towards renegotiating the lopsided 2016 PSA it has with ESSO, the body says stakeholders are also beginning to think that the government is deliberately supporting this unfavorable agreement in return for the oil company's support in maintaining political power. Article 13 founder Dr. Yog Mahadio said that the situation in Guyana continues to be viewed from all sides, with the discussion now increasing as to why the Guyana government is not seeking more from its oil contract. And in other news, a 29-year-old man was on Saturday stabbed to death at Canal Number 1, Polder, West Bank, Demerara, allegedly by a 17-year-old boy who he had slapped several times for wanting to take his own life. That is Dionarayan Ramcharan of Conservancy Dam, Canal Number 1. Police have since arrested the teen suspect, and the teen's father, 58 years, was also arrested for getting involved in the fatal brawl between the teen and the man. And in other news, opposition Member of Parliament Roysdale Ford has slammed the intervention of Director of Public Prosecutions Shalimar Alihak into the Dion Bascom case, with her latest call for the magistrate to be removed. Ford, the Shadow Attorney General, said the DPP's request to the Chancellor of the Judiciary is a blow to the heart of justice that should not be allowed. On Wednesday, Senior Magistrate Leron Daly ordered that Police Legal Advisor and Special Prosecutor Mandel Moore be placed in custody after he repeatedly failed to produce requested evidence in the cybercrime case against Bascom. The DPP said that while she recognizes that the magistrate does not appear to have a personal interest in the matter, her conduct thus far constitutes a sufficient reason for the Chancellor to exercise her power and assign the matter to another magistrate. MP Ford contended that citizens should be concerned over the DPP's intervention, which puts at risk a basic constitutional right to a fair trial in a court of law. And just before we head to a short break, let's tell you that a man who was arrested for the murder of a woman who was found dead on Friday has reportedly confessed to choking her to death. Region 3 police said that the suspect claimed that he and the woman, identified as Narmali Sukai of Factory Dam, Legrand, West Bank, Demerara, were in an intimate relationship. The man reportedly stated that he had killed her in her home following an argument they had over another man. Sukai's body was found around 16 hours on Friday by her mother, who had paid her a visit. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 9 in Guyana. We'll take a short break and return with your news.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Guyana, join me on the Glenn Lal Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast at 11 a.m. The Glenn Lal Show only on Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
Welcome back. Let's continue with the news. As farmers complain about being handed an inconsiderate proposal from the government to take over a fraction of their land to facilitate a natural gas pipeline that will run from Newville, Flanders to Wales on the west bank of Demerara, Shadow Oil and Gas Minister David Patterson is arguing that the government's valuation approach is incorrect, as it did not factor in the losses farmers would face from not being able to use their lands. Patterson said the PPP had craftily approached the National Assembly to make changes to the legislation which would allow them to take over lands, whether the property owner agreed or not. And to wrap things up, let's tell you that the University of Guyana Center for Excellence for Teaching and Learning Office of the Vice Chancellor is once again offering his Human Rights course free of charge to the public in commemoration of the International Day of Peace. The course opened on Wednesday, September 21st, and will be available to interested persons until October 21st, 2022. And as usual, we close things off with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. Don't sit back in silence. If we take some time out of our busy schedule to observe what is happening around us, in our homes, communities, country, and even the world at large, the list of wrongs could far outnumber the few things that may be going right. While we might be tempted to get frustrated, it is important to remember that each day we have the power to make choices that can correct many situations. It's about time that each of us endeavor to be the change we wish to see, rather than sit back in silence, essentially consenting to the undesirable. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.